Hello everyone, I'm Aaron, a birding naturalist. Welcome back to my channel. It is July and I am offering up and fulfilling the July A Birding Naturalist Monthly Nature Challenge. Let's talk about some native plants. So my challenge for July that I set myself and that I encourage you to join me on is to learn a little bit more about the native plants in my area or the native plants in your area. There are so many plants that I know nothing about. I'm not a botanist and so don't have like extensive training in plants. I know quite a few, but not tons. There's still so many I don't know about. I figured this would be a great month to learn something new. And so I kind of went through lists of plants found in my area, found some that I was not familiar with very much at all, and picked one to really learn a bit about. And the one that I picked is this one right here, this tree called the white alder. White alders are native to California, and also sort of a scattering of populations can be found in many other western states and even up into British Columbia. They're a relatively low elevation plant. They're found from just a little bit above sea level to about 2,400 feet in elevation, and they're a riparian species. So they're a member of this riparian habitat community, which is right at the transition between water and land. They like it wet. This species can be identified by mostly its leaves. They have these very pretty green leaves with very delicate sort of serrations along the edges. The leaves are oval shaped. And they're actually just a little bit fuzzy, especially on the underside, just a little bit soft. These are really interesting plants. I've been delighted to learn more about them. So, for one thing, they have male and female flowers. So, on each individual plant, each individual tree, there will be a cluster of flowers that are all male, or a cluster of flowers that are all female. The flowers release pollen. The females hold the eggs and are sort of much bigger and denser, almost looking like pine tree cones. And they function similarly to protect the seeds inside of them. Now, this is an interesting example of convergent evolution because while the white alder cones look similarly and in fact function similarly to conifer cones, things like pines and spruce and fir, they're members of completely different groups of plants, and so came up with this whole cone idea, completely independent of each other, an example of convergent evolution. White alder is a really important food source for many insects and many birds. The birds come to those cones and manage to get them open sometimes and can eat some of the seeds out of them. And many insects lay their eggs so that their caterpillars, their larvae, can then hatch out and eat the leaves. A really prominent example here in California is the western tiger swallowtail, which lays quite a few of its caterpillars' eggs on the white alder tree. So the caterpillars rely on white alders as a pretty significant food source. Another fascinating thing about white alders, and makes them kind of unusual, is that they fix nitrogen. Now, what does that mean? Well, nitrogen is a very common element in the world around us. Gaseous nitrogen, which is in a form called N2, just two nitrogen atoms locked together, is a very stable gas, and in fact forms something like 70+% of our atmosphere. So when you take a lungful of air, more than 70% of what you just breathed in, it's just pure nitrogen. It doesn't really do anything to you because those nitrogen atoms are linked together so tightly, they don't really interact with very much of anything. They are not biologically available. So this becomes a problem for every organism because we all need nitrogen to survive. And so the white alder has come up with a creative solution. They've sort of paired evolutionarily with bacteria that are called nitrogen-fixing bacteria. And that means that they can take those N2 molecules, break the nitrogens apart, and make them into different forms that are biologically available to other plants themselves and also other organisms. So a very important sort of base part of the nutrient cycling ability of an ecosystem. This nitrogen fixing is very common in the pea plants, but it's actually kind of unusual in plants outside of the pea plants. And so for an alder to do it, it's kind of cool. A different plant. It's a nice tree, this riparian tree that fixes nitrogen. So there's a little bit about the white alder, a native plant that I knew very, very little about and have now learned a lot more. And it's been really fun to sort of broaden and deepen my understanding of the plants around me. And I hope you decide to join me and also learn a little bit more about the native plants around you. As always, links to the other monthly nature challenges can be found in the description below. I encourage you to go back, even retroactively, go check out January and February, etc., the nature challenges, and see which ones you want to fulfill yourself. They've all been a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed them as well. Thank you very much for the view, and until next time, enjoy the natural world.